Obviously, Wisconsin's got a really good team. They won 5 in a row in the Big Ten. Excuse me, guys. They won 5 in a row in the Big Ten. The only losses in our league are the 2 highest rated teams in our league. 2 of them, I should say. Illinois on the road. So anyway, my point being, I think they got a great team. I told Greg, I just told our team, they roll out graduate senior Crowd, grad 6-year player Tunji. I think John Blackwell's as good as any guard we've played against, and I knew we're watching it on film. It'd be interesting if I hope for Greg's sake, I watch him back, with Coach Ryan, the way they do things. They've recruited guys like Blackwell that nobody knew who the hell they were for years, whether it was him or Nigel Hayes. He was at Toledo St. John's, Nigel Hayes. I was at Cincinnati. We didn't recruit him. Ohio State didn't recruit him. They've been doing it. It'll be interesting in the portal era if they can develop players. But they're a team that has a lot of returning players, and obviously Tunji was a great addition for them. So they shot it well. They're extremely well coached. Really proud of our guys. You got to stay ready, and you got to keep the right attitude. And that's a credit to Adai Mara, who didn't play in our last game. Credit to Sebastian, who didn't get into in the second half. We were playing well, so I didn't get him in until 12 minutes left. And then William Kyle blocks a shot, who didn't play the whole second half till he blocks a shot to win the game for us. So that's all we talked about briefly when I just talked to those guys, about staying ready and having a great attitude. So I commend those guys for doing what they had to do to win. They're a hard team to play against.
Could you tell Adai was going to, obviously you probably thought he had this in him, but...
Buddy, if you practice was open, I'm going to tell you how many times I look at the stat sheet after practice and he's 10 for 12, he's 8 for 9, he's 12 for 14. And it's just been, it's to a point where it's like, can he, the time's going to come where he's going to have that kind of game. So, but I commend Adai for having a great attitude. Just, and dealing with not playing in the last game and being ready tonight. I thought this was a good matchup for them with their size. They're not as fast as Iowa. I was concerned in the Iowa game he couldn't get back in time.
He did lots of good things, made free throws, blocked a 3-pointer, forcing a shot clock violation.
Yeah.
Just his presence.
Everything.
Yeah.
Just everything. Changed the entire game. No question about it. And I said this to you when we were struggling that William Kyle Adai going to have to help us win. Eric and Tyler are good players, but we're too small to play with them all the time. We don't rebound the ball the way we need to in the Big Ten, with them playing all the minutes. And then we got to get good point guard play. I thought, Dylan and Sky once again gave us a lot of production, and they give it to you here: 11 assists, 1 turnover, and 21 points from 2 guys. Now, obviously, Bass was dominant down the stretch, but players win games. Giving guys all the credit in the world. They're stepping up. They're starting to perform. Because there's a lot of good players in this league, guys. John Blackwell's a great player, and Tunji had an unbelievable night shooting.
Coach, you kind of alluded to it that Mara didn't play the last game. Not a lot of minutes all season long, but did you just sense that he was going to have a big game? Did you see that he had a matchup advantage? What went into keeping him in there?
One, I did think this was a good matchup for him. Okay. 2, I just said he's done it in practice. 3, there's been some games he's had some great games. He has had some very good games for us back in November and December. He really has. He was very effective in the Gonzaga game. The difference was in that game, when we went to try to throw him the ball, they were allowed to just tackle him and play football. And tonight they call fouls. See, if you have to guard him straight up and legally, it's really hard to stop him. But he hasn't had a fair whistle much all year. Tonight he got one. I know you guys said that stuff matters, but I thought he was really effective in the Gonzaga game.
Wisconsin had 10 three-pointers in the first half, and I think they only had 3 or 4 in the second.
5. They shot it great up till Blackwell had one late. Dylan in an ISO one-on-one against Dylan. That was their last one. We're up 4.
Did you emphasize more?
We try to
perimeter defense?
emphasize everything. It's hard to take everything away from them. You know, you try to keep Tunji off the foul line, and he makes 6 threes. We tried to keep Blackwell off the foul line, we couldn't do it. He got there 12 times. So it's hard to take everything away from him. I would have liked to have been I would like to found a way to make our press more effective against them. But again, Blackwell's great, and they've got a lot of seniors. And Greg's a great coach, so I think it's a really good win for us. They're as good as anybody we've played or better. I mean, you sit there and watch all the games. I mean, just size, talent, coaching, veterans, point guard, big guys. They got a bench. They bring bringing guys like Gilmore off the bench as a veteran. McGee's, those guys are seniors, aren't they? So other people, those guys are seniors. Bringing good players off the bench and kids that are winners. They're bought into who they are. I'm a big fan of their program and have been for a long time. Back to Coach Cronin.
Coach, why do you think Sebastian was able to be so effective in the second half?
We were operating, got him in some space, and he's our one guy. I shouldn't say not one. He can deal with the physicality of the Big Ten better than some of our other guys. He actually plays better when it gets like that, as you could probably tell. He's one of those guys, and he reminds me. Jaron Cumberland was a great player for me in Cincinnati. He got better by his junior year. Was a player of the year in the league there. He's not really a drill guy. When it's time to play and it gets chippy, he gets really good. You got to have a guy like that on your team.
Coach, I want to ask more about Max's leadership tonight. Obviously, he played well, but his leadership on the court, I saw.
Yeah, he's grown, talking a lot more. Taking responsibility. So one of the things I've been trying to talk to these guys about that's been hard in the portal era is, and it's not really in Dylan's nature to be a get in guys' face. Bass is, he and I got a lot in common. We're not afraid to get in somebody's face, jump in somebody's grill and tell them, let's go. So we need his toughness. And not just for him, I need him to inject it into his teammates. It was obvious he was doing that, very obvious. I've been trying to get him to do it in practice. I think I'd like Kobe Johnson to do it more as well. I think I know he's got it in him.
Adai had been playing really well defensively. What made you go with William on that key play?
We wanted to switch everything. Because with Adai, you got to show and recover. I didn't want to get caught in a recovery. Will's a switch guy. He can do it. Made me look smart.
He did.
Wisconsin's reserve forwards, as you mentioned,
A little louder.
Wisconsin's reserve forwards, as you mentioned, Gilmore.
Yeah.
Usually they're able to play a little bit bigger than their height. I guess how were you able to neutralize them, kind of coming off the bench?
I think McGee missed a few shots. We blocked one of them. I was surprised. He got one he missed that I was really surprised. He shoots 50%, as you know. So, Gilmore's 2 for 3. I think my opinion watching him is he tries to get the ball with their go-to guys. He's such a hustle guy. He just wants to win. Obviously that guy could care less about his points. So I wouldn't say we did anything to slow him down. He's 2 for 3, 1 for 2. If we did anything, we kept him off. We did a much better job as the game went on the defensive glass. That was because early on, I think I looked down, they'd only missed 6 shots, and they got 3 of those misses. So I think in the second half, they might have only had 2 offensive rebounds.
Coach, I know there's a few that you wish you could get back this season, but tonight was your 3rd win over an AP top 20 ranked team this season. Last season you were 0-5, but
Yeah,
against top
but
20
we weren't any
teams.
good last year.
What,
Just is what it is.
but especially in this conference, what does that say about where this team is?
Look, look, like I said before, I've coached in the Big East. 2011, there were 11 NCAA tournament teams. And that's very possible in the Big Ten this year. Very possible. We have 11 NCAA tournament teams. I understand, like I've watched, I think Auburn, obviously with Johnny Broome gets back, is probably the best team. But we got a lot of good teams. So in 2011, our 9th place team won the national championship in the Big East with Kemba Walker. They went 9-9 in the league. So when you're in leagues like this, you got to just win and get to the next one. Like a couple years ago, we were 18-2 in the Pac-12. Like I just don't see that happening in this conference. There's just too many good teams.
And what about?
You're always a week away from a losing streak, which we have found out. Because you could play pretty good and still lose in this league. Like they played well. They're 15 for 30 from 3. You can't. I mean, they played pretty well.
We've got time for one more question.
All right.
I have a quick follow-up on that. For you talking about playing well down the stretch and closing out these close games,
Yeah.
you improved to 4-1 this season in games decided by 3 points or less.
Made free throws. In one game we lost, we missed free throws. Carolina, our free throw shooting was blindfolded in that game. We made free throws that, I don't know down the stretch what it was, but I think we had one miss maybe. I think we might have been 9 for our last 10, something like that. Got to make free throws in a game like that, especially, as physical as it was, and the way they weren't going to give us layups or no fouls, we're going to have to make them. So, and then obviously, Sky made 2 to put us up 4. I made him miss the last one. All right, guys, I got to get Coach Gardner here.